Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on my broken and crash damaged Audi S5. If you watched the last video, then you'll know this thing started to overheat, which I could only determine was the thermostat. In the process of taking the thermostat out, I snapped the water pump. And this thing has been beached ever since. So in today's video, we are gonna fix and modify my Audi S5, get this thing back on the road and better than she's ever been. And if you're new to the channel, we do cool builds here, like my wide body E46 behind me, and also the S5 that I've just started. And if you're a returning viewer, let me address the bald elephant in the room. For a little while now, I've noticed that I've been going thin on top of the head, and especially on my crown. So I've decided, instead of fighting it, I'm just gonna completely shave it off and be a bald man. Now we've cleared that up, it's time to replace this water pump, hopefully find that piece of metal, and finally fix the S5. So I explained in my last video that this is where I snapped the water pump, and there's two little pieces of metal, one of which I found because it was just tucked inside here, and the other piece I haven't. And this little hole here is where I think that piece of metal is, and that leads, to my knowledge, into the oil pan just here. So I think the only thing I can do is drain the oil pan, take the sump off, and try and find that piece of metal. Well, at least that's still clean. You can tell I haven't done much since the last service because that's still clean. Whilst I wait for the oil to drain, I need to disconnect this sensor. The sensor measures the oil level and the oil temperature inside the sump. Next, it's onto the bolts holding the oil pan to the bottom of the engine. All of these bolts were really easy to loosen, as they're only really used to hold the sump in place whilst the adhesive sealant dries. It's the sealant that basically holds the pan to the car and keeps the oil in place. Annoyingly, I couldn't get to the rear sump bolts because the anti-roll bar was in the way. The upside is, all I had to do is simply unbolt the anti-roll bar, and then I could just kind of pull it out of place to give myself enough room to get to those bolts. And now it's time to pry off the oil pan, but it wasn't all that simple. Oh, there's still a bit of oil in there, isn't there? Now, I know by removing the sump plug you don't actually remove 100% of the oil, but I wasn't prepared for just how much oil was left in this sump. Wow. This isn't going to plan. There's so much oil left in this oil pan. Oh. I think I'm just going to have to play screw it, let the oil drip and play clean up. So that's exactly what I had to do. And then as I thought about it, it all started to make sense. The car is sort of down the driveway at this angle. This is probably the lowest point of the sump. So in theory, this should be it. I hope. Thankfully, there wasn't too much oil left in there for me to clean up. But now begs the real question. Can I find that missing piece of metal I've been looking for that snapped off my water pump? Ah! I found it! I found the bit of metal! Let me clean my hands. Right, so I was looking for a piece of metal, and just there, let me zoom in, just here is that piece of metal. So that is a good job I dropped the sump. I'm well chuffed. Oh, thank God that's where it was. Thank God I decided to drop the sump. So this hole, where is it? Here, that hole is directly under there. That is our missing piece of metal, and that's a chunk. I mean, I highly doubt that would have gone up the pickup feed, but you never know. It was not worth the risk, and it's definitely worth that mess. I'm gonna play clean up and then I'll catch up with you guys. And now comes the arduous task of removing the old sealant from the sump and the bottom of the engine to give myself a clean mating surface when I put on the new sealant. I found that the easiest way to do this was take a new razor blade and just gently scrape it against the surface until I have nothing left but bare metal. So the sump is all cleaned off now, and it actually looks basically like a brand new sump, which I'm buzzing with. Also, I've shaved off any of the old gasket sealer that was on the bottom side of the engine. So now it's time to put a nice bead on this and get this back onto the engine. I've just looked at the torque specs for the bolts that were holding this in, and I mean, it makes sense because they were all really loose, but 10 Newton meters, that seems like nothing, but like I say, all of them were just, you know, tiny bit loose. What I've got is some black RTV, should be good enough for what I need it for, and I'm going to do the bead. It says it's about 24 hours to set, so I am going to leave it 24 hours before putting oil in it, just to be safe. Now, I always worry that I'm going to put too much or too little sealant on, causing me to have a leak when I put the oil back in. So right now, I'm just trying not to overthink this process, lay a good bead down and hope for the best. And here goes nothing, putting the sump back on and trying not to over tighten the bolt, again causing me to squish the sealant too thin, which would also lead to a leak. So I tightened every bolt by hand first before going over again with a socket, and hopefully I didn't over tighten them too much. Sump is all back on, and we see a nice little bead all the way along where it's pushed it out. So because I can see a consistent bead, I'm hoping that's enough to keep it in. I always worry about putting too much or not enough sealant on, so I'm going to give it enough time to dry and probably come back to it tomorrow before I even think about putting oil in. I don't want to have to do it all again. It's such a pain in the arse. Now that the oil pan is all done and dry, because it's the next day, it's time to replace our sump plug and also our washer. I did do it recently. I replaced the washer recently, however it still leaked a little bit, so I thought I'd just replace the whole sump plug as soon as I've dropped the oil again anyway. So that's exactly what I did. My goal here is to have a completely liquid tight engine from coolant to oil. And the sealant should be all dry, which it is, so time to refill the oil. Again, this engine takes 8.8 litres of oil, and I am able to reuse my existing oil because it's only been about 1,000 miles since I last changed it. The oil pan is done and the oil is refilled. Whilst we're here, we've got a box of goodies to do some maintenance work on the S5. But before we get to that, let's get to the thermostat and what I think is the issue why this has all happened. So this is our thermostat, and this is our thermostat housing. A traditional engine cooling system typically has two circuits, a closed short circuit and an open long circuit. When the engine is cold, the thermostat is closed and the coolant flows around the short circuit. However, when the engine reaches temperature, the thermostat opens to allow the coolant to flow around the long circuit through the radiator to be air-cooled before circulating back around the engine. Then, when the temperature drops slightly, the thermostat will close and basically just keep repeating this cycle. So now you know how a thermostat works. What I have done is removed the two springs that go here and here, which actually hold the thermostat closed, and then as you saw, it gets up to temperature and the thermostat opens. By doing that, it allows me to keep the thermostat in place and slow the flow of the liquid, so therefore the car should still heat up quicker than if I had no thermostat, but it's basically going to be not an active thermostat, if that makes sense. To go with the thermostat, I've got a brand new water pump, so I'm going to take the housing back apart, put this back in it, and then swap the water pump because I obviously snapped the old one. This was as simple as bolting the thermostat back into its housing, then bolting the thermostat housing to the water pump housing before moving on to the water pump. After removing the water pump, I need to change the gasket again to prevent any leaks. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So I'm trying to learn from my previous mistakes and test the water pump in place to make sure that the inner pin fits inside the water pump shaft before putting it in the housing. This way I can use the spindle to find the right location, and then it should simply all bolt back together and go in place as it's meant to. Ooh, now that is a big relief moment. That has gone on a lot better than last time. I aligned the pin properly, and also I've pushed it in with no pressure whatsoever all the way in and done it up very gently to make sure there was no pressure on anything, unlike last time, because the smallest bit of pressure snapped the inner tube pin thing last time. So water pump, I'm confident, is done. Thermostat's done. Please please be the result of the overheating issue. If I've done all this and it still overheats, I'm gonna be fuming. But we're getting there. Now, I need to extract this bolt, that's the pain. Drill that bolt out, extract that bolt, potentially tap new threads. I've bought a tap and die set so I can tap new threads, and then it's rebuild it, put it back together. So we are not far off right now, and I cannot wait to hear this thing start once more. Let's go. Before we do that, I need to dive into my box of goodies and replace the auxiliary belt along with the auxiliary pulley. The ones on the car weren't in bad condition, however it makes sense to change them whilst I'm here to prevent having to strip the car back down if they fail. I did take a picture of the auxiliary belt location before taking it off, just to make sure that I put it back in the exact same location. Now, looking at the old pulley, that doesn't look too bad. Actually looks quite new, and the bearings still spin quite freely, and this doesn't look too bad either. You can start to see a little bit of wear, a little bit of aging, but I don't know how old it is, don't know when it was last done. It's always better to change it. So now I've got more confidence in this car. My neighbour Ian then helped me drill out the bolt that I'd snapped from the coolant pipe, and as he was doing that, I started replacing the coolant hoses onto the water pump. Then Zoom started tapping a new thread into the hole that he just drilled so we can replace the bolt and secure the coolant pipe. Very big thank you to Zian, my neighbour, because he has saved me on this. Now, this is the final fit, and hopefully it works, because that means that this car will start today. Right, that is just on that new tapped bolt, and that is solid. So we'll do this one up, do that one up, and then get this car back together. Whilst I build up the front of the S5, I noticed that a whopping 90% of you watching aren't subscribed. So if you made it this far in the video and you want to support the channel, make sure you go down below and press that subscribe button. Right, moment of truth. Will she start? Because she's been sat here for, like I say, about 5 weeks now. Will she start? Also, ignore the fact, if you can see them, I've put screws in my headliner where I had to drive this car when it was overheating with the windows open, so I had the aircon on, well, the heating on full. That got a lot worse. So headliner is on the list. Will she start? Oh, I didn't think she was going to start then. It is so good to hear this thing. Is she leaking? Thankfully, there were no leaks, so I've got one more fix to do before taking this thing out for a test drive. I noticed that the driver's side washer jet was broken, so I ordered one, simply pop this one out, pop the new one in, and it's good to go. And the last thing on the list is to bolt up the crash bar, fit the front bumper, and then reinstall all the engine trims and the air duct into the airbox. It's been a few days now since I fixed the S5, and this thing is running flawlessly. There's no leaks, no overheating, and it's back to its absolute perfect self. And for 4 grand, I cannot complain. Now, I told you guys that I have my first modification to do on this car, and I wasn't lying. This is my favourite mod to do on any Audi, so let's get into it. Now, if you haven't guessed what this is so far, we've got an RS style grille. This is our honeycomb grille, and it did come with the plate holder attached, as you guys probably already saw. It also came with an RS5 badge that can go straight in the bin, and the S5 badge can go straight on. On top of that, we also have a chrome and a black logo. Personally, I'm going to go for the chrome one because I've got silver mirror caps. I think it'll look better, but I've got the option to switch out if I want to. On top of that, My last and favourite piece of this grille is this split quattro section down here. I think it finishes the grille off perfectly and it's exactly what I was looking for. So I'm going to save you guys the hassle of watching me take that front bumper back off once more, and I'm going to get that off and get this on. The first thing we need to do is build up the grille itself by putting on the chrome badge and the S5 badge. I got this grille from eBay and I could not recommend it more. If you want one yourself, go down in the description, the link is below. Then the bumper can come off so we can get it on the workbench to start taking apart the standard grille. The grille is held to the bumper with a series of Torx head bolts, including these ones going from the support bracket to the bottom under tray. I've just noticed as well that this comes with these two like stems, which actually this side is broken. So it's fixing some of the previous crash damage to this car too. Now that is great news. Now time to pop out the old grille. And I remember from doing this in the past that you can see the crash bar through the honeycomb grille. So what I need to do is spray paint this black. I start off by sanding down the crash bar itself, then laying down 2 coats of primer and also about 3 coats of black paint. And this is the end result. The paint isn't going to be a permanent fix. I'll probably get something like Hammerite that's a bit more hard wearing in the future. However, for now this will do. And the last step is obviously putting the new grille inside the bumper, securing it with the exact same Torx head bolts that the old one was secured with. Now, time for a first look. I've not looked. Let's have a look. Oh yes, that is exactly what I'm going for. Now you can't see it that well because of the light in the background, but now I've painted the crash bar, that's all dried. Let's get this bumper on. Now that is so much better and it looks like a completely different car, but we're still missing one thing: a number plate. Legally in this country we need to display our number plates on the outside of the front of the vehicle, which is really annoying because that looks so good. However, I've come up with a solution. And that is this magnetic plate holder kit from Plate Pro. And no, this isn't sponsored. The idea behind this kit is brilliant. You basically put some sticky magnets on the back of your bumper, or in my case on the back of the grille, and then you put a sticky magnetic strip onto the back of your number plate, and they simply magnetise to hold the number plate to the car. This enables you to keep legal compliance, especially in the UK, but also you can take the number plate off very easily to clean it, or for shows, or if you're just feeling a bit fruity. Well, that's annoying and hasn't worked at all. Yes, it holds the plate on, but it's so wobbly that there's no way that will be held on with any form of speed. So, do the Plate Pro magnets work? Yes, I think they will, but not because of the honeycomb. There's basically too much gap between where the magnet sits on the honeycomb and this itself. This gap here, there's just too much air resistance between it. I think if I went onto the bumper, it would probably hold a bit better on there, but I'm gonna have to try that out in order to do it. So for now, we're still gonna be running plateless. So there we have it. The S5 is officially not only fixed, but the first mod is complete, and I think it looks a million times better than what it did standard. If you like the video, make sure you go down below, press the like button, leave a comment, let me know A, if you like the bald head, and B, do you like the RS style grille? There is so much more to come on this car. We have not even started with this build. So make sure you press that subscribe button and the bell notification to be notified whenever I upload another video on the S5 or the up and coming videos on the E46, because that needs to be finished too. Anyway, that's it from me, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.
You got me so bad, you make it all slow down.